The Liverpool skyline is the backdrop to this view of the prom. Here the seafront has undergone quite a few changes since the ferry and the promenade piers were demolished in the 1970s. 100 years ago, Victoria Road was the town's main thoroughfare. That's seen here highlighted in red on this map of 1911. It was an era when the newly opened tower and its pleasure grounds were attracting large crowds of visitors to the resort, many of whom came from the mill towns of the north of England. This view from Crosby shows how the tower dominated the area around New Brighton, where in September 1907 a storm dragged the ferry landing stage from its moorings. The rocky outcrop in this old image can still be seen on the beach today. After the storm damage of 1907, the pier and landing stage were quickly repaired, enabling the ferry to reopen. In those days, the paddle steamer Thistle could often be seen with her decks crowded with passengers, making for New Brighton. Mersey Ferries in 1921 took the decision to replace the landing stage and gangways. This was a major project, work that involves the mammoth floating crane, which was then owned by the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board Company. By the 1930s, cars were becoming a more common sight as they began to park along the promenade, but it was an era when many people still arrived at the resort by public transport during the summer months. These old views of the resort show how busy it used to be. Today, very little remains from that era, but on the beach you can still see a few post holes in the green rocky outcrop that once housed the cast iron legs of both piers. The wooded area seen here was once the grounds of the Royal Rock Hotel, where in June 1889 members of the Birkenhead Town Council gathered to celebrate the opening of a new ferry service between Rock Ferry, New Ferry and Liverpool. That evening the occasion was marked by Alderman Thompson, Mayor of Birkenhead, being presented with an engraved silver punch bowl. From the outset, the southern routes were never a great success. Residents preferred to commute by the more convenient trams, which were later superseded by the bus routes into Birkenhead, where people then had the option to take the quicker Woodside ferry to Liverpool if they wanted. A quiet time at the ferry terminal as a single-decker prepares to depart for Port Sunlight. In those days, people using the pier would have looked down occasionally on small boats or fishermen using the old slipway. A ferry boat creates a pall of smoke as it prepares to get underway from the stage on a rising tide. The stage was only a short distance from HMS Conway that was anchored just upriver. The vessel had first arrived in the Mersey in 1876. In the early 1900s, transatlantic liners anchored in the river. They would have been seen by ferry passengers on this crossing, which the Mersey was employed on, and is seen here approaching the stage. She went to the breakers in 1926, after plying the Mersey for 36 years. Travellers at the turn of the 1900s would have been amazed as they sailed past the Conway, Akbar and Indefatigable, which were then moored line astern in an area called the Sloyne that lay between Rock Ferry and New Ferry. At New Ferry, commuters faced a long walk to and from the landing stage, which in those days was surmounted by a large arch, on top of which stood a glass lantern. This may have been illuminated as a beacon at night to guide the ferry boats as they made for the stage.